Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Sham Sharadava Nalalidaloka Tranaya Karuna Gana Ganatam Praptasa Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Praptasa Kalyana Gunanavasya Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nitya Gita Vaditramadhyam Manasurasena Romanchakam Pasru Taranga Bhajo Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityanana Shingaratanama Niramajanado Shri Vigrahara Juktasya Bhaktamsya Niyunjatapi Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavad-Prasada Satana Triptan Hari Bhakta Sangha Chaturvidha Shri Bhagavad-Prasada Satana Triptan Kridvaiva Tripte Bhajata Shadeva Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Shiradikama Bhavayarapara Madhura Lila Gunarupanamna Shiradikama Madhura Lila Gunarupanamna Pratikshana Swa Tanalalupasya Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam Nekunja Yono Ratikeli Siddhai Jayali Bheri Jokti Apekshaniya Nikunja Yono Ratikeli Siddhai Jayali Bheri Jokti Tatrati Daksha Otivalabhasya Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam. Sakshadharitena samasta shashri ruktastatthava bhataiva sarve. Sakshadhari shashri kintu prabhaja priya eva tasya Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam. Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam. Yasya Prasada Bhagavad Prasada. Yasya Prasada Nagati Kotapi. Yasya Prasada Sadam Yasya Prasadam Nagati Kuta Dayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam. Dayam Stuvam Tasya Yasatrin Sandhyam Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam. Vande Gurashi Charanarvindam. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristaya Kale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namaste Sarasvate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatari Shatarine. Namaste Sarasvati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pachatari Shatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Tanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hari Bol. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, oh, Hare Krishna, oh, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, oh, Hare Rama, oh, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, ah, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, ah, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hariyaraya Namah, Krishna Jadavaya Namah, Jadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah, Gopal Govinda Ram Shri Madhusudan, गिरिधारी गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन श्री चैतन्य नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत सीता हरि गुरु वैष्णव भगवत गीता श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ हरिहराय नमः कृष्ण जादवाय नमः गोपाल गोविंद राम श्री मधुसूदन हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम राम हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे हरि बोल हरे 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 राम श्री राधा नीलमाधव राधा नीलमाधव राधे जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रमा जय सुदर्शन चक्र बलदेवा जय सुभद्रमा जय सीताराम सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान सीताराम निताय गौर हरिबो हरिबो निताय गौर हरिबो हरिबो निताय गौर प्रमानंदे हरि हरि हरिबो जय विश्वपार परमहंस प्रभुपादाचार्य सूत्र सरस्वती समाज His divine grace अवतरण भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय इस्कॉन प्रतिष्ठा विविधि संस्थापक आचार्य वैष्णव शिरोमणि पतित पावन श्रील प्रभुपाद जी महाराज की जय श्री गौर्य गुरु वर्गपति उद्धार की जय श्री रूप सनातन भक्त रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भक्त दास गुण सदगोस्वामी प्रभु की जय नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर जी की जय जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसरि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय जय परम दयाल श्री नित्यानंद प्रभु की जय जय प्रेम नाम संकीर्तन एक जनक प्रेम पुरुषोत्तम श्री सच्चिदानंद स्मरण गौरंग श्री चैतन्य महाप्रभु गुरु हरि मवृणय अवतार की जय गोलोकेर प्रमधान हरि नाम संकीर्तन जग की जय जुग धर्म हरे कृष्ण महामंत्र की जय बृहद निदांग ट्रांसडेंटल बुक डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन सेवा की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोपगुप्ता राधा कुंद श्याम कुंज गिरिराज गोवर्धन की जय श्री ब्रज भूमि वृंदावन मथुर धाम की जय द लॉर्डशिप श्री श्री राधा नीलमाधव की जय श्री श्री नवद्वीप मायापुर एक चक्र धाम की जय परम करुणा श्री गौर निताय की जय श्री पुरुषोत्तम क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय श्री श्री जगन्नाथ स्वामी बलदेव प्रभु स्मस्पुत्रा देवी सुदर्शन चक्र भगवान की जय। भक्ति सर्व विघ्न विनाशन कनु सिंगरे भगवान की जय। जय गंगा माई जमुना माई की जय। तुलसी महारानी वृंदी देवी भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री मथुरा धारानी की जय। समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय। निताय गौर हरि प्रमानंदे हरि बोल। All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories to the assembly bodies. All glories, all glories, all glories to Shri Guru. Shri Gaurang. Namaste Narashingaya. Namaste Narashingaya. Pralada Lada Aine. Pralada Lada Aine. Hiranyakasipu Bhakshan. Silatang Kanaka Laye. Ito Nishinga Parato Nishinga. Jato Jato Jamitato Nishinga. Bahir Nishinga Hrudaye Nishinga. Narasingha Madhimi Sharanam Prapade. Tabakara Kamalavare Nakam Adabhuta Singha. Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanabringa. Kesavadrita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadisha Re. Jai Jagadisha Re. Jai Jagadisha Re. Tavakara Kamalavare Nakam Adabhuta Singha. Dalita Hiranyakasipu Tanabringa. Kesavadita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadisha Re. Jai Jagadisha Re. Kesavadrita Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadisha Re. Jai Jagadisha Re. Jai Jagadisha Re. Kesava Narahari Rupa. Jai Jagadisha Re. Jai Jagadisha Re. Jaya Nishinga Re. Jayo Nishingare Jayo Nishingare Jayo Nishingare Jayo Narahari Jayo Narahari Narahari Jayo Narahari Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha Jayo Lakshmi Narasingha Jayo Bhakta Prahlad Prahlad Mara Bhakta Prahlad Srila Prahlad Mara Nittai Gaura Haribo 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 Nittai Gaura Haribo Jai Shri Bhakti Pada Sarvighnashana Kanishingare Bhagavan ki jai Jai Bhakta Shristha Prahlad Maharaj ki jai Shri Harinam Sankirtan Jai ki jai Nitai Gaurari Premanande Hari Hari Bo Shri Vrindayai Tulasrivai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Sattavataye Namo Namaha Vrindayai Tulasrivai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Sattavataye Namo Namaha Vrindayai Tulasi Devai Priyayai Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradidevi Sattavataye Namo Namaha Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Brindadevi ki
Namo Namaha Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Tulasi Krishna Preyasi Namo Namaha
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Heya Bilhashi
Radha Krishna Seva Pavo Heya Bilhashi
Radha Krishna Seva Babo Eya Bilasi.
Radha Krishna Seva Babo Eya Bilasi.
Je tomar saran lo Tara vancha purna hoy.
Je tomar sharanala Tara vancha purna.
Kripa kori koro tare Vrindavana basi.
Tumi kripa kori kara tare Vrindavana basi.
Morae abhilas Bilas kunje diyo ba.
Morae avila Vilas kunje diyava.
Nayane heri bosada Jugal ruparasi.
Aminayane ribo sada Jugal ruparasi.
Ei nivedana dharo Sakira nugata koro.
Ei nivedana dhara Sakira nugata koro.
Devadhikara diye karo nija dasi.
Sevayadhi karo diye karo nija dasi.
Dina Krishna dase koi Eje namora hoy.
Dina Krishna dase koi Eje namora.
Shri Radha Govinda preme Sada jena bhasi.
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 Tulasi Krishna Priyasi Namo Namah.
Tulasi Krishna Priyasi Namo Namah.
Yani kani cha papani Brahma hatyadikani cha Tani tani pranashanti Tadakshina pradipade.
Tani kani sapapani Brahma hatyadikani sa. Tani tani pranasanti Pradakina pade pade.
Yani kani cha papani Brahma hatyadikani cha Tani tani pranashanti Pradakshina pade pade.
Tani kani sapapani Brahma hatyadikani sa. Tani tani pranashanti Pradakina pade pade.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani,
Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani, Jaya Tulsi Maharani.
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Vrinda Devi, Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi,
Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi, Jaya Vrinda Devi.
Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol,
Nitai Gora Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gora Hari Bol.
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada,
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada.
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Jaya Jaya Gurudev,
Jaya Jaya Gurudev, 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 Gurudev. Shri Vrindai Tulasi Bai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradevi Sattavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Bai Priyaye Kesava Satya Vishnu Bhakti Pradevi Sattavataye Namo Namaha. Vrindai Tulasi Devai Priyaye Krishna Bhakti Prade Devi Sattavataye Namo Namaha. Jai Shrimati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki.
Oh Tulasi, beloved of Krishna, I bow before you again and again.
My
Presents my service of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna.
I would like to show what you have fulfilled, bestow you myself on him, make it resident of Vrindavan. My desire is that you also grant me a residence in pleasure groves of Shri Vrindavan Dham. Thus within my vision I will always behold the beautiful pastimes of Radha and Krishna. I beg you to make me a follower Kavitams of Raj. Please give me the privilege of devotional service and make me your own maid servant. This very fallen and lowly servant of Krishna praise. May I always sing in love Shri Radha and Govinda. Shri Mati Tulasi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sikha Astakam Ki Jai. Chaito Darpana Majana Bhavamada Vangivapana Shri Akari Vichandika Dharanam Vidya Vadhujivanam Ananda Buddhivardhanam Patipadam Purna Mrita Swadanam Sarvatmasnam Param Param Jayati Shri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Vaudha Nija Sarva Shaktis Tatrarpitani Amitashmaranina Kala Idadvishi Tavakipaya Bhagavan Mamapi Durdhaivam Idrisham Yajanina Nuraga Trinadapi Sunichaina Tarorapi Saishnana Amanina Manadena Itanya Sadari Nadanam Nadanam Sundarim Kavitam Vajagadishakamaye Mama Janmane Janmanishwari Avatar Bhakti Raituki Tvai Ainandatanu Kinkaram Paritama Vishame Bhavam Buddho Kripaya Tava Pada Pankaja Stitaduli Sadrisham Vichintaya Nayanam galorashru dharya Vadhanam gadagadharudaya gira Pulakairinchitam papukada Tavanama grahane bhavishyati Yoga itam nimishena Chakrusha prabhusha itam Shunya itam jagata sarvam Govinda virahe name Asli shabapa daratam pinastumam Adarshanar marmahatam karotuva Jata tathava vidadhatulam pata Matpranatastu saivana para Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sri Kyostakam Ki Jai. Namo Mahabharanaya Krishna Prema Pradayati Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurati Shenama. Glory to the Shri Krishna Sankirtana, which cleanses the heart of the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire conditional life of repeated births and death. This Sankirtan moment is the prime benediction for humanity at large, because its presence raised the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss and enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we're always anxious. O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govind. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by holy names, but I'm so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. Once we chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lowered and straw in the street, one should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige. I should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your casual devotion from service, birth to birth. O son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor. Yes, some or other have fallen in this ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. O my Lord, when will my eyes will be decorated with tears of love flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And will the hairs of my body stand on the end of the recitation of your name? O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like rain, and I feel all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he should remain so, even if he handles me roughly by his embrace, or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipful Lord, unconditionally. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu Sri Kistakam Ki Jai. Namo Mahabharanaya Krishna Prema Pradayati Krishna Krishna Chaitanya Namini Gaurati Shenama. There are 10 offenses in the matter of chanting the holy name of the Lord that should be avoided. They are as follows. 1. Blasphemy. Devotees who dedicate their life for propagating the holy name of the Lord. 2. To consider names of demigods, the Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma, to be equal to or independent of the name Lord Vishnu. 3. To disobey the orders of the spiritual master. 4. To blaspheme the Vedic literatures or literatures and pursuits of Vedic version. 5. To consider the glories of chanting Hare Krishna to be imagination. 6. To give some interpretations to the holy name of the Lord. 7. To commit sinful activities in the strength of chanting the holy name of the Lord. 8. To consider the chanting of Hare Krishna as one of the auspicious ritualistic activities which are often in Vedas as fruitive activity, karma kanda. 9. To instruct the faithless person about the glories of holy name. And 10. To not have complete faith in chanting of holy names and to maintain material attachments, even this matter. It also an offense to be inattentive while chanting. Every devotee who claims to be Vaishnava must says Krishna Prema. Now let us offer our most humble obeisances unto all the Vaishnavas, devotees of the Lord. They are filled with desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen, conditioned souls. Vancha kalpatarvascha kripa sindhu vevacha paritanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrindi ki Jai. Shri Mangala Charani ki Jai. Om Agyana Timirandasya Galanjana Salakaya Chaturvamilitam Jaina Tasma Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manusmata Mandina Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kalamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Jyotaparakamanam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Radhana Kavitam Tam Sajiva Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sadhana Lalitam Shri Vishakam Pitam Cha Nama Om Vishnu Padayo Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanto Swamini Namine Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharine Nivishesha Shrunavadi Patsatyadi Satarine Nama Om Vishnu Padayo Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Namine Shiva Shavana Videvi Daitaya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Daine Prabhave Namaha Madhu Chujala Prematya Shri Gopanoga Bhaktira Shri Gauravana Shakti Vigrahaya Namostute Namaste Gauravani Shimurtaye Natarine Rupanuga Virudhapo Siddhanta Dantahine Namagora Kishoraya Satchavira Murtaye Vipralambara Samode Paramujayate Namaha Namo Bhakti Vinodaya
Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasya Prabha Prabhuvato Jagananda Koti Koti Svasesu Vasudadi Vibhuti Binam Tad Brahmanis Kalamanantam Asesa Bhutam Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Mayahi Yasya Jagananda Satani Sutej Agunya Tad Visayaveda Vitaya Manam Sadva Valambi Parasatvam Visuddha Sattvam Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Ananda Chinmaya Rasat Mataya Mataya Praninam Patifulam Smaratam Upetya Lilaya Tena Bhuvanani Jaya Yajasram Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Goloka Namni Nijadamni Talechatasya Devi Mahesu Haritama Suteshu Teshu Tete Prabhava Nichaya Vitaschayena Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shristi Stiti Pralaya Sadhava Sakti Reka Chayeva Yasya Bhuvanani Vibharti Durga Ichana Rupam Abhyasya Chachesta Tesa Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Shiram Yata Divikara Vishesa Yoga Sanjayate Nahitata Pritakasti Hetu Yasambhutama Pitata Samupaitika Yad Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Deepachadevi Dasantanam Abhyapetya Deepayate Vivitete Samanadar Yastadhyeva Hicha Vishnu Taya Vibhati Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yakarna Narna Vajale Bhajatisma Yoga Nidramananta Jagananda Saroma Kupaha Adhara Sakti Mavalambya Param Swamurtim Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yasyaika Nisvasita Kala Matavalambya Jivanti Loma Vilaja Jagananda Nataha Vishnu Mahansa Yasya Kalaviseso Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Basmanya Tasma Sakaleshu Nijesu Tejaha Sriyam Kiyat Prakatayata Pitadvatat Brahmaya Esa Jagananda Vidana Karta Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yat Pada Palava Yugam Vinadaya Kumbha Dvande Pranama Samayesa Ganadi Raja Vignam Vinanta Malamasya Jagatrayasya Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Agnir Mahiga Ganamambu Marudisascha Kala Statatma Manasiti Jagatrayani Yasmad Bhavanti Vibhavanti Visanti Yamcha Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yaschaktresa Savita Sagala Grahanam Raja Samasta Suramurti Resesa Teja Yasyagaya Brahmati Sambrita Kala Chakro Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Dharmota Papa Nichaya Sutayastapamse Pramadi Kita Patagava Deyascha Jivahaya Data Mata Vibhava Prakatarpa Bhava Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Yastindra Gopa Matavendra Mahoswa Karma Bandhan Rupa Falabhajana Matanoti Karmani Hinir Dahati Kintu Chabhakti Bhajam Govinda Amadi Purisham Tamaham Bhajami Bhajami Yam Krodha Kama Sahaja Pranayadi Bitti Vatsalya Moha Guru Gaura Vasavya Bhavai Sanchintya Tasya Sarvisim Tarmapurete Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Shriya Kanta Kanta Parama Purusha Kalpataravo Jumabu Mischintamani Kanama Yitoyam Amritam Kataganam Natyam Gamanam Apibam Sipriyastaki Chiranandam Jati Paramapita Daswadyam Apicha Sayatra Shirabi Bihi Shavati Shirabi Byascha Sumaha Nemeda Sartgova Rajatina Hiyatra Bisamaya Vajay Swita Dvipamta Maham Ilgol Kamitiam Vidantas Te Santakshiti Virachari Katipaya Ishwara Parama Krishna Sachitananda Vigraha Nadiradi Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai, Shri Guru Vastika prayers Ki Jai, the spiritual based on the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. Chanting the holy name, dancing in ecstasy, singing and playing musical instruments, the spiritual master is always gladdened by the Sankirtan movement of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Because he is relishing the mellows of pure devotion within his mind, sometimes his hair stands on end, he feels quivering in his body, and tears flow from his eyes like waves. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always engaged in the temple worship of Shri Radha and Krishna. He also engages his disciples in such worship. They dress the deities in beautiful clothes and ornaments and clean their temple and perform other similar worship of the Lord. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always offering Krishna 4 kinds of delicious food, analyzes that which is licked, chewed, drunk, and sucked. When the spiritual master sees that the devotees are satisfied by eating Bhagavad Prasada, he is satisfied. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is always eager to hear and chant about the unlimited conjugal pastimes of Radhika and Madhava and their qualities, names, and forms. The spiritual master aspires to relish these at every moment. I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is very dear because he's expert at assisting the gopis who at different times make different tasteful arrangements for the perfection of Radha and Krishna's conjugal loving affairs within the groves of Vrindavana. I offer my most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet as such a spiritual master. The spiritual master is to be honored as much as the Supreme Lord because he's the most confidential servant to the Lord. This is acknowledged in all revealed scriptures and followed by all authorities. Therefore, I offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet as such a spiritual master who is a bona fide representative of Shri Hare Krishna. By the mercy of the spiritual master, one receives the benediction of Krishna. Without the grace of the spiritual master, one cannot make any advancement. Therefore, I should always remember and praise the spiritual master at least 3 times a day. I should offer my respectful obeisance unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, his divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Gaur Premanandi Haribal, Srimad Bhagavatam, Shri Brahma Samhita Ki Jai, and Shri Guru Vastika prayers Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 1, text number 43. Nunam Nipanam Chimadot Patanam Mahim Muhushchalayatam Chamudbi Vadat Prapanati Jihir Sayeso Piyupaik Satagam Bhagavam Kurunam Nunam, of course. Ripanam, of the kings. 3. Mada. Utpatanam, going astray out of false pride. Mahim, earth. Muhu, constantly. Chaliyatam, agitating. Chamubi, by movement of soldiers. Vadat, from the act of killing. Prapana, surrendered. Arti, Jihirsaya, willing to relieve the distress of the sufferers. Isa, the Lord. Api, in spite of. Upaiksata, weighted. Agam, offenses. Bhagavan, the Supreme Lord. Kurunam, of the Kurus. Translation by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Despite his being the Lord and being always willing to relieve the distress of sufferers, he, Krishna, refrained from killing the Kurus, although they committed all sorts of sins, and although he saw other kings constantly agitating the earth by their strong military movements, carried out under the dictation of the 3 false pride. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. As declared in Bhagavad-Gita, the Lord appears in the mortal world to execute His much-needed mission of killing the miscreants and giving protection to the suffering faithful. In spite of that mission, Lord Krishna tolerated the insult to Draupadi by the Kurus and the injustices perpetrated against the Pandavas, as well as insults to himself. The question may be raised, why did he tolerate such injustices and insults in his presence? Why did he not chastise the Kurus immediately? When Draupadi was insulted in the assembly by the Kurus, by their attempt to see her naked in the presence of all, the Lord protected Draupadi by supplying an unlimited length of clothing. But he did not chastise the insulting party immediately. This silence of the Lord did not mean, however, that he excused the offenses of the Kurus. There were many other kings on earth who had become very proud of three kinds of possessions: wealth, education, and followers. And they were constantly agitating the earth by movements of military strength. The Lord was just waiting to get them together on the battlefield of Kurukshetra and kill them all at one time, just to make a shortcut in his killing mission. Godless kings or heads of state, when puffed up by advancement of material wealth, education, and increase of population, always make a show of military strength and give trouble to the innocent. When Lord Krishna was personally present, there were many such kings all over the world, and he thus arranged for the battle of Kurukshetra. In his manifestation of Vishvarupa, the Lord expressed his mission of killing as follows: I have willingly descended on the earth in my capacity of inexorable time in order to decrease the unwanted population. I shall finish all those who have assembled here except you, the Pandavas. This killing does not wait for you to take part in it. It is already arranged. All will be killed by me. If you want to become famous as the hero of the battlefield and thus enjoy the booty of war, then, O Savyasachi, just become the immediate cause of this killing and thus take the credit. I have already killed all the great warriors, Bhisma, Drona, Jayadratha, Karna, and many other great generals. Do not worry. Fight the battle and be famous as a great hero. Srimad Bhagavad-Gita, 11th chapter, 32nd to 34th verse. And this is an alternative translation of it. The Lord always wants to see his devotees as the hero of some episode which he himself performs. He wanted to see his devotee and friend Arjuna as the hero of the battle of Kurukshetra. And thus, he waited for all the miscreants of the world to assemble. That, and nothing else, is the explanation of his waiting. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Despite his being the Lord and being always willing to relieve the distress of sufferers, he, Krishna, refrained from killing the Kurus, although they committed all sorts of sins, and although he saw other kings constantly agitating the earth by their strong military movements, carried out under the dictation of three kinds of false pride. And this is a very, very important and profound verse and purport. What we're doing is understanding who Krishna is and how Krishna does things. If we understand those two things, we'll become liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Understand who Krishna is and how he does things. So, this verse today is explaining something that is very, let's say, crucial to understand. When a devotee does something wrong, Krishna will give the result or the reaction right away. When a non-devotee does something wrong, Krishna will hold it back. That just bewilders the non-devotees more, because they don't see the correlation between their sinful acts and the reaction, or the karmic reaction. Therefore, they don't believe in the law of karma. Some of them don't believe in the law of karma. They don't believe that there's a law made by a Supreme Personality of Godhead for their punishment. However, right in the first chapter of Bhagavad-Gita, it explains a lot of these points, where, first of all, it's talking about Varna Shankara, unwanted population. And what does the Lord do when there's too much unwanted population? He organizes a war. And he assembles all the demons on the battlefield, and they kill each other. So in the first chapter, text 41, Sankaro Narakayaiva Kula Gananam Kulasyacha Patanti Pitaro Hiesam Lupta Pindo Daka Kriya. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life, both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down, because the performances for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. So the Shraddha ceremony is entirely stopped by these type of errant family members. And this is because their children are not educated properly. They don't take the time to educate them, or they have broken families, single-parent families, or no families, and therefore they're adopted by other families. Sometimes those families are good, sometimes they're very bad. So it's very uncertain, let's say, destiny for such children who are born usually because of illicit sexual activity, and they're not really wanted. So therefore, they don't really get the proper education in life. And it says, when religion is prominent in the family, when irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. So this is Arjuna making an argument why he shouldn't fight on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. But what he's saying is true. When irreligion is prominent in the family, that is, when people are not interested in understanding anything about Krishna, or they're more interested in getting material benefits out of God rather than getting purified of their lusty desires. And Prabhupada says, good population in human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. This is first chapter, 40th verse, 40th and 41st verse. The Varnashrama religion's principles were so designed that the good population would prevail in society for the general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to be misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation. Therefore, both children and women require protection by the elder members of the family. Engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to Chanakya Pandit, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. So the different family traditions of religious activities should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for participating in the Varna Ashrama system. On the failure of such Varna Ashrama dharma, naturally the women become free to act and mix with men and thus adultery is indulged in at the risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence. So this is real soothsaying. Soothsaying, we can look that word up, S-O-O-T-H-S-A-Y-I-N-G. So, it all starts by irresponsible men, and it proceeds by the pollution of the women, and the degradation of womanhood, and then unwanted progeny or unwanted children who are not being educated properly, and these children create havoc in society. What does it say? They can foretell the future?
It's the act of foretelling the future, foretelling the events.
Yes. So here, 5,000 years ago, they're describing, Arjuna and Krishna are describing what happens today on a regular basis, you see. Therefore, this is real literature. This is real knowledge. So why shouldn't our kids be educated primarily in Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam? For this reason, you can understand what's happening today by things that were said 5,000 years ago, and also the solution to it. The solution is that kids should be more interested in Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam than basketball and playing mundane sports and goofing off in their most formative years. The most formative years are 12 to 20, and especially 16 to 20. And if kids including boys and girls, are subjected to materialistic philosophies, materialistic culture, and because they're so involved in that culture, materialistic culture, they don't have time to hear on a regular basis Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. Therefore, don't be surprised that they will gradually go away from Krishna consciousness. Even if their parents are devotees, doesn't matter. And the other thing is the parents should understand that being involved in business is not our life vocation. Business, basically, the Vedic tradition is like this. From 0 to 24 or 25, boys should be trained in Krishna consciousness, and also, if they have the tendency to get married, how to support themselves and their family. And women or girls should get married no later than 16, so that they don't freely associate. Now, Prabhupada married his wife when she was 9, I think. Now, but they don't live together right away. After the boy is situated in his life's, let's say, in his ability to support a family, that's when they start living together, right? So usually that's like Prabhupada's wife had her first baby when she was 14, right? But usually it's like 25, 16, right? That's the proper way. And then for the next 25 years, they raise a family, they educate their kids, and then from 50 onwards, the husband and wife begin to downsize their materialistic life. And then eventually, after Vanaprastha, usually around 65, the husband takes sannyas, and then the wife also lives like a sannyasi under the protection of her children or in a holy place, a holy dham, where she's protected. So this is the normal Vedic lifestyle and timeline. But you see, it's completely disrupted today. And because of that, people are not happy. And there's a lot of disturbance and misery in society because of this disturbance of the Varnashram Dharma system and the whole process of Krishna consciousness, which is superior to Varnashram Dharma. So in this verse and purport today, it says, he, Krishna, refrained from killing the Kurus, although they committed all sorts of sins, and although he saw other kings constantly agitating the earth by their strong military movements, carried out under the dictation of the three kinds of false pride. So what are these three kinds of false pride? They are wealth, education, and followers. Wealth, education, and followers. So any leader in society or any big guy in society, like you have Trump or you have Biden, you have Elon Musk and Larry Ellison, Larry Page, all these people, they will be corrupted by wealth, education, meaning mundane education, and followers. Having a lot of people following them on Twitter or Instagram, you know. So you see someone like Trump, he's got maybe, I don't know, 10 million people or 20 million people, 30 million people when he was on Twitter. And he's got a lot of followers. And he's very wealthy. And he's supposed to have some kind of education. He's educated enough to make a lot of money. So these things corrupt people when they're not used in Krishna's service. So it says that today we see that Putin is doing saber rattling, S-A-B-R-E, S-A-B, yeah, R, I think it's R-E instead of E-R, rattling, R-A-T-T-L-I-N-G. What does that mean?
Saber rattling, yeah, the display or threat of military force.
Yeah, so it says, he saw other kings constantly agitating the earth by their strong military movements carried out under the dictation of the three kinds of false pride. So that's a description of Putin and of Zelensky and of the United States and of any highly militarized country. They have a leader who is promoting, you know, these military parades and showing this, all their weapons, you know, like the person in North Korea, and testing atomic bombs, testing missiles, all these things. They're showing off their might. And it agitates everyone because it is extremely dangerous, you know, by having supersonic international rockets that can reach their target 10,000 miles away in a matter of less than an hour. So it's extremely dangerous. So we're living in a world that is constantly being agitated by strong military movements. Okay, so Krishna says in the Bhagavad-Gita, in the Yadi Yadhi Dharmasya Glanir Bhavati Bharata Abhyuttanam Dharmasya Tadatpanam Sujamyaham Paritranaya Sadunam Vinasaya Chaduskritam Dharma Samstapanartaya Sambhavami Atmamaya Sambhavami Yuge Yuge. So he says that he comes once in the day of Brahma, and or also in his original form, but he also comes anytime there's a major disturbance of the principles of religion. And he comes when there's a rise in such irreligion, and he comes to protect the devotees, annihilate the demons, and reestablish the principles of religion. So this is a very important verse, 2 verses in the Bhagavad-Gita. Many people know these verses, but they don't necessarily understand them. So whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. But Krishna has his own timeline. He's not, like for example, we might think that 1 year is too long to wait, or just like now, there's a leakage of an opinion before it has been made of reversal of some parts or several important parts of the Roe versus Wade abortion law, permitting abortion, and the United States government pays for it. So what happened is, by leaking that information, it's caused a tsunami of protest. Now, people are going to the houses of the Supreme Court justices and threatening them. So those justices have to hide now. And even though they might get some protection and policemen at their house, they know that that's not enough to stop these crazy people that want to kill them, or scare them at least. So we see this type of intimidation going on. And why? Because a majority of the justices want to stop the government from being in the business of killing babies. If people want to kill their babies, they have to pay for it themselves, and they have to figure out how to do it. And there are many doctors, and there will be states that will continue to permit it. Not all the states. There's at least 26 states that will forbid it. And rightfully so, because killing babies, innocent babies that are completely defenseless, is a very, very nasty sin. And it's all because of rampant illicit sex going on. So this is why people suffer when they blatantly and without any remorse engage in very heavy-duty sinful activities. Therefore, Krishna says, to deliver the pious and to annihilate the miscreants, as well as to reestablish the principles of religion, I myself appear millennium after millennium. So the Lord is responsible for the maintenance of the principles of religion. So therefore, he is obliged to do something about it. And so either he comes himself, or as a plenary expansion of himself, or partial plenary expansion, or partial plenary expansion comes, or someone vested with one of his absolute qualities. So you have people like Prabhupada who are Shaktavish avatars. They're invested with a powerful attribute that Krishna has. So Prabhupada was able to spread the movement all over the world in a short period of 11 years, and publish and distribute more than 500 million books about Krishna consciousness, and it's still going on and still increasing. See? So he's empowered by Krishna to do this, to stop this savage advancement of demoniac behavior. Okay, so now why did Krishna delay punishing the Kurus, Rashtra and Duryodhan and Karna and Sakuni and so forth? Why did he just delay it? Well, apparently it was in order to, number one, glorify Arjuna, who would eventually engage in the battle of Kurukshetra and kill hundreds of millions of people. I mean, he was extremely lethal with his bow and arrow. And it's not ordinary arrows or bows. those arrows are like atomic weapons because they're infused with mantra. So they had atomic weapons, much more lethal, and they had smart bombs. A Brahmastra would only kill one person and not anyone else, but it was a nuclear weapon. It was a very heavy fire weapon. The Americans don't have smart bombs. The Russians don't have smart bombs. When that bomb falls, it can kill all kinds of people, like you have in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. At one time, they killed immediately over 100,000 people, and then with the radiation that came from the bomb, many, many more people died. You see. So they're dumb bombs. They just kill indiscriminately. But the Brahmastra is a smart bomb. It only kills the person it's supposed to kill, and nobody else. And it's almost an invincible weapon. Okay, so Arjuna was a massive killer, and Bhisma and also Arjuna's brother, Bhimasena, was also a massive killer. That's why 640 million people died in 18 days. So here it says, Krishna is telling Arjuna, listen, I have willingly descended on the earth in my capacity of inexorable time. In other words, you can't stop time. In order to decrease the unwanted population. This is in the purport today. Right? So what is that unwanted population? Is what Krishna describes in the first chapter, those two verses, 40 and 41, called Varna Shankara, unwanted population. Children who are usually born because of illicit sex and who are not wanted and not paid any attention, not given proper attention or proper education. He said, I shall finish all those who have assembled here except you, the Pandavas. This killing does not wait for you to take part in it. It is already arranged. All will be killed by me. If you want to become famous as the hero of the battlefield and thus enjoy the booty means, it has several meanings. It has a very nasty meaning, and it has a rather innocuous meaning. Booty means the spoils of war. Spoils meaning what you get if you defeat the so-called enemy. You get property, you get women, you get wealth, you get power, so that's a booty. But booty can also refer to other things that are very, let's say, not very good to hear about. Okay, so, O Savyasachi, that's Arjuna's name, just become the immediate cause of this killing and take the credit. I have already killed all the great warriors, Bhisma, Drona, Jayadratha, Karna, and many other great generals. Do not worry. Fight the battle and be famous as a great hero. So Krishna wants Arjuna to be glorified and to be the principal, let's say, along with his brothers, winners of the war of Kurukshetra. Then it says, the Lord always wants to see his devotee as the hero of some episode which he himself performs. Right? He wanted to see his devotee and friend Arjuna as the hero of the battle of Kurukshetra, and thus he waited for all the miscreants of the world to assemble. So that takes time to bring all the Democrats, all the Republicans, all of Putin's people, all of Zelensky's people, all of the Chinese, all the nonsense people in the world. Get them all on one big battlefield like Kurukshetra, and then let them kill each other. See, so all these big wars are organized by Krishna. Of course, people say, no, it was this one or that one, and this thing and that thing, but no, because there's too many Varna Shankara, unwanted population, and not properly educated kids that have grown up to become adults that just cause trouble in nature, in society. So it says, Arjun. So it says, and thus he waited for all the miscreants of the world to assemble. That and nothing else is the explanation of his waiting. So, if we understand who Krishna is, if we understand how he does things, we become a real devotee. And this should be the education for our kids. The other education they're receiving, it's not really that important. In fact, it's detrimental. And Prabhupada says in Ishopanishad, better to be poor than rich, because then you depend more on Krishna. Now, it doesn't mean, okay, let's just throw our money out the window and let's all be poor. We'll live in a cardboard box under the I-5 in Seattle. No, that's not what he's saying. What he's saying is, do not waste your time in this life, because time is going by very fast, and the more time goes by, the more we deteriorate, right? Rather, use every moment to learn about Krishna and how he does things, and learn about how we can come closer and closer to Krishna. And if you do that, you will have all knowledge and renunciation. You don't have to separately try for those things. You will have all knowledge. And now, for example, look how wealthy people come who become life coaches. You know what a life coach is, right? They tell you, it started back in the 1940s. Well, it started way before that. Krishna is the ultimate life coach. But in the 1940s, you had how to, what was the name of that book? How to Make Friends and Influence People. This was a book, right? And everyone read it, right? And they wanted to, but why? Because they wanted to be rich, and they wanted to influence people, to admire them and follow their advice. So this life coach business has been going on, and it's only increased. So nowadays, companies pay life coaches to teach their employees how to cooperate with each other. And they play these games, like, they have these different games you have to play. Have you ever gone to any of those things? Huh?
But I heard a lot.
Huh?
I heard a lot actually in India. Actually, I shared with you once, right? So my friends, because they called it as a under motivational speaker. Now
Yes.
it's proliferating a lot in India. There are so many motivational speakers.
The devotees are in that too.
Yeah, and then my friend I shared once, like he said that, okay, this Krishna, what you are talking about is fine, but I want health, wealth, and happiness. And this guy give me the path or show me the path how to get that one.
Yeah, that's more important than Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, because Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, they can't help me get health, wealth, and happiness, right? You see how screwed up people are now, right? And these life coaches, they go around, they make millions of dollars. Basically, they take principles from the Bhagavatam, Bhagavad-Gita, and they scramble it somewhat. They add their own kitchery to it, and they become life coaches. They make millions of dollars.
Yes, they are charging in India, Indian rupees, like somewhere from 40,000 to
So that's why I'm saying
lakhs.
You don't have to go to school. I mean, a nonsense school, because they're teaching you how to not be a life coach, to be the coached, right? But these other people, they figured out, wait a minute, I don't have to do all this stuff. I can be a life coach and make more money than all these idiots, right? And teach the idiots as if, I'm going to teach them how to make money. But actually, he's the one that's making the money, right? And the idiots, they say, oh, it really helped me a lot, and I endorsed this guy, and I got a better house, and I got rid of this one wife, I got a new wife, and my life is really going good now, and I got this high position, and they get them to talk like that on the publicity, right? And just to get more idiots to take their course, right?
What is your what's your opinion or thought on some of the devotees doing this life coach? our life coaching. Is that okay, or do you think they're helping?
Complete waste of time. So many of them came here and spoke in Microsoft. Not one devotee came from all their speaking. But they made money, and they got the fame. It's a waste of time. You want to be a life coach? Teach Bhagavad-Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. You know, and they'll say, well, that's what we're doing, right? But, you know, the title of their speech is always how to get rid of stress, right? Every one of the speeches, how to get rid of stress, right?
So yeah, I think
You see, this is
adding
a
to the
hot topic. This is a hot topic.
It is
Yeah.
a hot topic, that's why.
Maharaj, I had the same question I wanted.
yeah. So it's same like I just don't want to name, but there are ISKCON
Yeah.
devotee with like very high.
Oh, there are
They
a
do
lot
the
of them were
motivational,
sannyasis.
motivational speeches, but I see now this like most of these motivational speeches, there is no connection. I mean, indirectly, if you try to really get the connection to Bhagavad Gita, we can. But mostly for common man, there's no way that they can understand. Oh, it's talking something about Bhagavad Gita, or very very generic and these things.
No,
so.
but they tell a lot of jokes.
Yes.
So don't forget that.
Yeah. Sometimes jokes.
And a lot of stories.
Yeah.
So some of them, indicate that they're helping people at least get to the mode of goodness, and then at some point they might get connected with, Krishna consciousness. At
Sounds
least they're
like
helping.
goodness cookies, huh?
Yeah. So in that way, Maharaj, how do we say, like, for example, we're doing many programs where we're not directly connecting. So can we see these people's efforts as at least it's a continuum? We understand it's a progressive path, Krishna consciousness, and they're
No,
only
but then
helping.
you could say also that Ravi Shankar is doing that,
Yeah.
and Sadhguru is doing that, and they're trying to save Hinduism by doing this. In other words, the soft preaching,
Yes.
right? Of course, then they're Mayavadis. So I think we have an example. His name is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, right? So he didn't do anything like that. So therefore, we should follow Prabhupada. Right? He spoke. Yeah, I mean, if you want to see Prabhupada, you look at his speech. He's being interviewed by a newspaper lady in Chicago, and I think it was 1973 or 4 or 5. Right? You look that up. And he blasted feminism. Right? When the feminism was, growing and becoming really, very strong. And today, there are devotees, even on the GBC, and say, "Oh no, we can't do like that. We can't speak like that. We have to stop that. And we even have to change a lot of things that Prabhupada said in the Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam because we won't be able to make any women devotees in the United States." This is a bunch of nonsense. It's a bunch of nonsense. Anyway, it's a controversial subject. Are we doing that by doing Ananda Mela and goodness cookies and bring people up to the mode of goodness? It all depends on phalena parichite. Judge from the result. Even these people that are doing the motivational speaking, you have to judge from the result. I saw that when they came, and there was a whole bunch of them, they spoke in Microsoft, they spoke in Amazon, they spoke to all these places. Not one devotee came from it. Not one person that was going to help this temple came from it. So in that case, judged from the result, it was a failure. Now, maybe it's working in other places. I'm not going to say categorically that they're all nonsense, but you have to judge from the result. So that should be the final criterion.
So Maharaj, one argument that I've heard is that we're taking many lifetimes. So it is possible that these people may not become devotees in this lifetime, but at least it's a progressive path, and they might only make that path, this journey towards maybe mode of goodness, so that they continue further. Is that a valid argument or not?
Judge from the result.
Maharaj, I'm trying to understand that. So in the same context, so if we go and say, everyone, I'm going to preach Bhagavad-Gita, how many people will come, Maharaj, in that case? How can I understand this?
Well, look at Satguru. He's getting thousands and thousands of people, right? Ravi Shankar is getting hundreds and thousands of people. So it all depends. If you, Prabhupada only spoke Bhagavad-Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, look how many thousands of people he got.
But Prabhupada isn't very...
No, don't say Prabhupada is a pure devotee, we're not on that level. Don't say that.
Okay.
You have an example, you have a real example. You have His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada.
Okay.
So that is the same example, Maharaj. If we try to say something, a lot of people are maybe in mode of goodness, but they said, okay, still we need to follow. When if we give examples, they said, oh, okay. Means if I talk in my master, say, okay, there is Santa Tukaram. Oh, they are saints. We are not saints. Okay, we have to be like this. I mean, that's kind of responses we get.
That is not a valid.
That is valid for saints, but not for us.
No, that's not a valid statement. No, you should become a saint and follow the footsteps. The main verse is Mahajana Yenagata Sapanta. You can't equal the saint, but you can follow the example of the saint. And that's what that verse says. Mahajana Yenagata Sapanta. You follow the path chalked out by the pure devotee. Now, there were a lot of things that devotees started, quote, to preach and spread Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada stopped them. They did the Krishna quiz. You have these quiz programs. There were a lot of quiz programs on television, so they started a Krishna quiz. Prabhupada stopped it. With kids, there'd be a contest, and whoever could answer all the questions right, they won the contest, right? And there were questions from all over the place, right? Prabhupada stopped it. Then there was another thing that he stopped. They started this type of they stopped they were doing concerts, with instruments and like professionals. Like you have these professionals that come here and do concerts. So devotees started doing it. He stopped it. He said, just chant Hare Krishna. And there were a whole bunch of things that Prabhupada stopped while he was present that were started by devotees in order to spread the movement, and he stopped it. He said, just stick to the Sankirtan, prasadam distribution. You just stick to the basic things. He said, that's what I did, and look what happened. What time is it?
7:15.
All right, right on time. Hare Krishna.
Maharaj, I have one question, Maharaj.
Yes.
So you mentioned that whenever Krishna comes to re-establish the principles of religion, to protect the devotees and annihilate the demons, so that means it's a pre-planned to annihilate the demons. So I'm trying to understand, so whatever happened in the assembly of Kauravas to disrobe Draupadi, whatever the situation, so all those incidents, are those happened at the will of Duryodhana, or it just, I'm trying to understand, Maharaj, because it's a pre-planned everything to kill the demons. So those incidents just, those also, it's a plan of, it's a pre-planned, or just those happen at the will of...
All the big wars are organized by Krishna. You say, oh, no, it's because Hitler did this, or Stalin did that, or Putin did this. It's all organized by Krishna to bring all these demons together in one place so they kill each other. And you're seeing it right now in Ukraine, Russia and Ukraine. It happened in my time. Earlier, we saw it, the war between Iraq and Iran. Right, 1 million men died in that war. And the United States was supporting both sides with weapons. Exactly right now, they're supporting the Ukrainians with weapons. They did both sides with weapons. And they were openly supporting Assad, what's his name? And not Assad, Saddam. Yeah, Saddam was working with the CIA, right? But they were also secretly supplying the Iranians, to kill. They would kill each other. It's very diabolical. So, Krishna organizes these, wars because there's too many unwanted population, causing too many disturbances. Haribo. You might say, "Oh, that Krishna's bad. He's supporting war." Now, if there, you could see in India, you had the partition, right? A lot of people died in partition, and before the partition, a lot of people were dying, being killed, and then a lot of people got killed by the Muslim invasions, and a lot of people got killed because of the British also, right? So that's because the people in India, although they're supposed to be very pious, but they were deviating. Therefore, they became weak, and they were able to be conquered by the Muslims, and later on by the British, and so forth. So when you start deviating from pure devotional service, all these things happen. And someone can say, well, what deviation was it? Well, how about all the pujas for material benefit? Right? They were supposed to stop completely, but no, they got worse. So, no, you have to follow strictly the regulative principles of Krishna consciousness to be protected by Krishna always. Haribo.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, as you had mentioned about judge by the result.
Yes.
So in the festivals that we are having here, so I have seen so many people, they volunteer on those festivals, and they get so much enthusiasm in working like hours and hours, like 8 hours or 10 hours. And some devotees, like some new people, they'll work till like closing as well. Like we have to clean up, and so I see the result, like it's like an instant result. They are like so enthusiastic to serve in the festivals.
Even the devotees get enthusiastic.
Yeah, devotees are definitely, but I'm saying those are like new people. Those are also getting.
By the way, we have a small festival tomorrow in Renton. We're not organizing it, but they've invited us. So I'm going to need some help for this festival. So we're going to have cupcakes and cookie decoration, and then we're going to do aromatherapy also. So we need a few volunteers.
We are going to set up some stalls then, at least?
They're giving us the tents, the table, and the chairs. We just have to bring the interactive activity. Yeah. So we have 2 activities that we're going to do.
What are the timings, Maharaj, for that?
We have to be there by 9:30 at the latest. We don't have to take prasadam. We just have to be there, and it goes on till, I think it starts 10 and goes on till 3 o'clock. So that's good because we'll have time to go to Sankirtan also. Now, I don't need 15 volunteers, but we need basically volunteers for the need 1 volunteer to help me with the aromatherapy, and we need 2 or 3 volunteers, at least 3 volunteers for the cookies.
And the cupcakes, you mean?
Cookies and cupcakes, decorating the cookies and cupcakes. I mean, you can ask Raja Raman, because he's organizing that with his wife.
Okay.
They're not going to come, but they're organizing it. Yeah. Haribol. All glories to Prabhupada. Now I have to go slugging. There's a war going on. Me and the slugs. Organized by Krishna.
Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala